up, I wasn't exactly an outcast, but my parents told my sister and I that American kids were dangerous, and they had sneaky and underhanded ways of keeping them from us. For example, if I was invited to a birthday party, my dad would scoff at the idea of buying a present. It's their birthday. Why I have to pay? My parents encouraged us to hang out with Thai kids. Unfortunately, Thai kids teased me really badly because they suspected I might be gay. I'm not sure what gave it away. Perhaps it was the time I taught everyone how to properly vogue. Whatever it was, I like to think of their bullying as an ineptitude to deal with how much cuter I was than them. Growing up though, I did have one best friend. I had a cat named JJ. And JJ wasn't just any cat, he was a Siamese cat. And that meant he was a Thai cat. See, we had a cat before, but it had run away. And my mom explained this was an American problem. American cat run away because they are wild, like American people. But Thai cat? Oh, Thai cat will be so loyal and they will love you just like Thai people. Remember this when you're picking who you want to marry. I raised JJ as if he'd been born without limbs. When he was hungry, he would meow and I'd carry him to his food bowl. When it was time for him to use a litter box, he'd meow and I'd carry him to his litter box. Eventually, the sound of JJ's meow began to rule my life. Too much homework, not enough petting? Meow. Not sharing enough of my dinner with him? Meow. Locked too long in the bathroom trying to take a poop? Meow. The scariest thing about having a male cat is that they may mistake you for their life partner. And this meant that I was JJ's bitch, and that I belonged to JJ and JJ alone, and I could have no other pets. One birthday, my cousin brought me 2 hamsters, and JJ seethed with anger every time I would feed them. Now, when the 2 hamsters that we were told were females had a litter of babies the next month, JJ was not having any of it. He pawed at the cage and he hissed at it, but I felt safe because it had a locked top on it. One morning, however, I woke up and the top was gone. I looked around frantically for the hamsters, and then I realized I was standing in the middle of a hamster massacre. Literally, there were hamster heads and body parts all around my room. I screamed and ran to the door, and then I saw JJ standing in my hallway, licking his lips in satisfaction. Nice try, he seemed to say. I dare you to love anyone else. And I didn't love anyone else for the next few years. It was just JJ and I. But then in 1997, I went downstate to college. And this was the first time JJ and I had been apart for more than 2 weeks, and he did not take it well. My parents told me he started spraying the walls of my room. Eventually, though, JJ warmed up to my father, but every time I'd come home, he would just love me so much and then be so sad when I would leave again. Eventually, after college, I moved back home, but I was no longer a lonely, sheltered teenager. I was a newly out-of-the-closet, party-focused twink, excited to see how many men I could sleep with and how many drugs I could try. This left very little time for JJ. Although I lived at home, I was more of a transient party gypsy, sleeping with friends and lovers on couches, beds, and floors, everywhere, really. Unfortunately, my mom noticed this and she came up to me. Your father does not like how you sleep everywhere. What do you mean? You sleep here, you sleep there? Are you homeless? You need to focus on your career. I'm focused on moving out. My mother proceeded to tell me I should stay at home, take the free rent, and get my life together. And then she said, and your cat, JJ, he's so old, and he loves you so much. You can just at least stay here until he dies. JJ was really old at this point, and it was obvious to everyone that he didn't have much time left. I decided to spend some quality time with JJ by hotboxing my room with him in it. At first, he seemed to love it. He moved his head from side to side to the music. But then he freaked out and growled before hissing, running over to my leather coat, dumping about a gallon of urine on it, and then he ran out of the room screaming like a banshee. We had grown apart. Come home now. JJ is very sick. It was the summer of 2005. It was Gay Pride, and I had been awake for 3 days. Ooh. It was a Sunday, and I was headed to an after-hours party in Uptown, just a few miles from my parents' house. I'll be home later, Dad. It'll be fine, I said. He will not make it. I said, I'll see you later. Don't worry about it. And now the party was a fantasy. I walked into the room and was greeted by an angel with a bullet of Special K. Literally, my Puerto Rican drug dealer named Angel, dressed up as an angel, in a pink Speedo and feathered wings. The room shook with the weight of people dancing. I made out with someone who gave me a couple pills of something. And the day went on like a party scene from the greatest film ever. After the party, I stumbled back to my friend's apartment where I passed out for the rest of the day. And when I woke up, I saw I'd missed several calls from my parents, but strangely, there were no voicemails. I woke up, winced at the mirror's reflection, and headed home. My dad opened the front door before I could even get my key in. He's dead. He waited for you, but he could not keep fighting. He dragged himself into your room, and with almost no voice left, he meowed at me to put him in your bed. He was fighting, he was dying, but he wanted to see you. It's too bad you're so busy. I had gone to college with a lot of hopes for my parents, but I had come back a hot mess and an even bigger disappointment. For the sake of hope, my dad interpreted JJ's love for me as a sign that there might still be a good person buried underneath my new party monster facade. At the time, my abandonment of JJ might have broken my dad's heart more than the death of JJ did mine. I wrapped him in a blanket. He's on the living room table if you even care to say goodbye. I walked into the dining room, but I couldn't get closer than 5 feet to the table. This is ridiculous, I said under my breath. No, you just feel shame. I stood there for a few minutes in frustration. I could feel my brain trying to process something, but it was too messed up from the weekend to do anything but misfire. My mom came up from behind me and put her hand on my shoulder, and I just broke down crying. What did I tell you about Thai cat? She said. They're always so loyal. Thank you very much.